Besides using music in meditation, we begin each ECAP session with some calming music. Recordings of natural environments, such as the sea or bird songs in a forest, or even white noise, like that of a waterfall, are also effective. The main concerns are that the sounds be quieting rather than stimulating, that they please the person who's hearing them. This makes it easier to enter the state of loving confrontation we are trying to achieve. Even though it may be helpful, however, you don't need music for visualization. Often, the environmental noises can be woven into the imagery or hypnotic suggestion and help deepen the trance. From years of experience in using the visualization technique, we do know that the image must be chosen by the individual. It must be an image with which the patient feels completely comfortable. A majority of people are profoundly disturbed by any picture of themselves killing anything, even an invading disease organism. Medical jargon words like assault, insult, blast, poison, and kill cause conscious and unconscious rejection by the patient. Thus, some patients do well seeing their white blood cells as sharks or polar bears, but many do not. Some of the most successful kinds of visualization in ECAP have been images of tumors as food, being eaten by white cells disguised as Pac-Man or some such benevolent consumer. Just as healers in primitive tribes tell people to utilize power animals, I suggest that patients use similar animated symbols. One child saw his cancer as cat food and immune cells as white pussycats. Another patient visualized birds and birdseed. One lady who had oat cell cancer pictured mares and does eating her oats. Seeing the cancer as being eaten can mean, this tumor will nourish me and help me get well. This kind of picture is truer to the real nature of the white blood cells and also offers a framework for using the disease as psychological food for one's own growth. Becoming exceptional. Survivors of illness. The Simontons have summarized the psychological profile of their exceptional patients as follows. They are generally successful at careers they like, and they remain employed during illness or return to work soon. They are receptive and creative, but sometimes hostile, having strong egos and a sense of their own adequacy. They have a high degree of self-esteem and self-love. They are rarely docile. They retain control of their lives. They are intelligent with a strong sense of reality. They are self-reliant. They don't need to be included among others, although they value interactions with others. They tend to be nonconformists with a permissive morality. They are unprejudiced, and they appreciate diversity among other people. As patients, those who have or are developing survival traits are self-reliant and seek solutions rather than lapsing into depression. They interpret problems as redirections, not failures. They are the ones who read or meditate in the waiting room instead of staring forlornly into space. As an ECAP member once put it, pessimism is a luxury I can't afford. Our goal in ECAP is to help people live by developing the resilience, adaptability, and confidence of the survivor personality. One of my patients told me she'd asked her doctor whether anybody ever got over what she had. I confronted her with the question, if you were in a concentration camp, would you ask a guard, does anybody ever get out of here? Self-respect and creativity. Psychologists estimate that less than 20% of the population has an inner locus of control, the kind of self-possession in which persons are guided by their own standards rather than beliefs about what others may think. This integrity is a large part of the survivor personality. Becoming your own person releases your creativity. Freed from the bonds of convention and the fear of what others may think, the mind responds with new solutions, new goals, and an awareness that beauty and peace come from within. We all have the opportunity to live inventively. People who develop their full individuality often change jobs, moving from a career that bores them but gives them security into one that brings meaning to their lives and provides them with a way of giving something to the world rather than just getting something from it. People who suffer in unsatisfying jobs are assuming the victim role. Nothing is going to help them if they don't help themselves. Too much is made of work defined as a job anyway. People often come into my office and say, I'd like to be a therapist. Where can I do this work? I say, where do you work now? When they tell me, I say, okay, now look around you, and you'll find that everyone in that office has pain. Help them, and you'll immediately become a therapist. This is another area where meditation and visualization can be of enormous help. A person can temporarily disconnect from the pressures and unhappiness of the present job and image a more congenial future. Imaging channels mental energy toward making the desired result happen, and as you begin to act upon your new awareness, you create new opportunities, both consciously and unconsciously. We prepare our future by what we think and do each day. I recommend that patients keep a diary of their thoughts. As they read it later, they will see how they prepared their future by their thoughts, which then motivated their activities. Jung said, "The future is unconsciously prepared long in advance and therefore can be guessed by clairvoyance." Independence and assertiveness. People who always smile, never tell anyone their troubles, and neglect their own needs are the ones who are most likely to become ill. For them, the main problem often is learning to say no without guilt. Many only become able to live for themselves, tell others what they really feel, after the shock of the diagnosis. The most important kind of assertiveness a patient can demonstrate is in the formation of a participatory relationship with a doctor. Most patients don't talk to their doctors or ask a lot of questions for fear of angering this person who is going to make them well. Of course, no one can make you well. You heal. Many people get well while using alternative therapies. This does not necessarily mean that the therapy itself is useful, but that people heal doing something they believe in, something that gives them hope. That's what we help people learn in ECAP, and it often means helping doctors learn the same lesson. One morning on rounds, a patient asked me, "What's wrong?" "Nothing," I said. "Then why are you frowning?" "I'm not frowning, just thinking." "Well, do your thinking in the hallway and smile in here." Our patients are our best teachers. When a nurse tells me that some patient is being uncooperative, refusing to get undressed and put on the standard hospital gown, or asking all sorts of questions before submitting to a test, I say, fine, he'll live longer. The so-called problem patient is also the rapid healer, the long-term survivor, and the one with the active immune system. That's why I encourage people to behave as individuals when they enter a hospital, by following this list of suggestions, which my wife and I call good patient, bad patient. 1. For your hospital stay, take clothes that are practical, comfortable, and individual. Plan to walk as much as possible. 2. Take room decorations of a personal and inspirational nature. Make sure your room has a view of the sky and the outside world. Do not accept a room that faces a brick wall. 3. Question authority. Speak up for yourself, your needs, and comfort in all areas, both before and during tests. 4. Make your doctor aware of your unique needs and desires. Offer to share books, tapes, and conversation. 5. Take tape recorder and earphones along with meditation tapes and some of your favorite music. Record conversations with your physician for later review and for family use. 6. Use your tape recorder in the operating room and recovery room to hear music, meditation, or messages during and after surgery. Have someone put a reminder into the doctor's orders to play the entire tape continuously. 7. If you are having an operation, instruct the surgeon and anesthesiologist to repeat positive messages to you. The simplest is that you will awaken comfortable, thirsty, and hungry. 8. Tell the surgeon to speak to you during surgery, honestly but hopefully, and also to repeat positive messages, but absolutely avoid negative ones. 9. Speak to your body, particularly the night before surgery, suggesting that the blood leave the area of surgery and that you'll heal rapidly. 10. Arrange visits and calls from those who will nurture and love you, as well as give you carefrontation when appropriate. 11. Get moving as soon as possible after surgery. Leave the hospital to attend group meetings, go for walks, or have meals out with friends. The 4 faiths. I believe faith is the essence, a simple solution, yet too hard for most people to practice. To verify this, I went to God. Surgeons have that prerogative. And asked why I couldn't hang a sign in my waiting room saying, "Leave your troubles to God, you don't need me." God said, "I'll show you why. I'll meet you at the hospital at 10 a.m. Saturday." He likes to play doctor. On Saturday, he said, "Take me to your sickest patient." I told him about a woman with cancer whose husband had run off with another woman. He said, "Good case," and we went up to her room. I said, "Ma'am, God is going to come in and tell you how to get well." I always introduce him so patients are not overwhelmed. She responded, "Oh, wonderful." God entered the room and said, "All you have to do is love, accept, forgive, and choose to be happy. And she looked him in the eye and said, "Have you met my husband yet? Most of us want God to change the external aspects of our lives so we don't have to change internally. We want to be exempt from the responsibility for our own happiness. We often find it easier to resent and suffer in the role of victim than to love, forgive, accept, and find inner peace." Yet, when we choose to love, healing energy is released in our bodies. Energy itself is loving and intelligent and available to all of us. Now I felt I had a dilemma. If God's love could cure people, I wondered, why should I remain a surgeon? So I returned to him and said, "God, you know, one of my patients got well leaving her troubles to you. Why should I remain a surgeon? Why not just teach people to love?" And God, in his beautiful, sweet, melodious voice, said, "Bernie, render unto the surgeon what is the surgeon's, and render unto God what is God's." I find that God does that a lot, speaks in parables, and leaves you totally confused. Since then, I've come to understand that God and I both have a role in getting people well. Let me illustrate what I mean with an old story I've adapted. A man with cancer is told by his primary physician he'll be dead in an hour. He runs to the window, looks up at the sky, and says, "God, save me." Out of the blue comes that wonderful melodious voice saying, "Don't worry, my son, I will save you." The man climbs back into bed feeling reassured. His physician called me, and I walk in and say, "If I operate in an hour, I can save you." "No thanks," says the man, "God will save me." Then an oncologist, radiation therapist, nutritional therapist all tell him, "We can save you." "I don't need you, God will save me," was his reply to all of them. In an hour, he's dead. When he gets to heaven, he walks up to God and says, "What happened? You said you'd save me, and I'm dead." And God said, "You dumbbell. I sent you a surgeon, an oncologist, radiation therapist, nutritional therapist." There is a role for the mechanic when he is the patient's choice of therapy. I can be God's gift and tool also, just as the Bible states medication is. In ECAP, we found that 4 faiths are crucial to recovery from serious illness: faith in oneself, one's doctor, one's treatment, and one's spiritual faith. We have discussed the first 3, but the last, although seldom totally achievable by most of us, is in many ways a key to the others. The spiritual life has many meanings. It need not be reflected in any commitment to an organized religion, and we all know that some of the most outwardly pious people are the least spiritual. These are the ones who give other people spiritual ulcers, as a participant in one of my workshops phrased it. From the standpoint of a healer, I view spirituality as including the belief in some meaning or order in the universe. I view the force behind creation as a loving, intelligent energy. For some, this is labeled God. For others, it can be seen simply as a source of healing. From this, there comes the ability to find peace, to resolve the apparent contradictions between one's emotions and reality, between internal and external. Spirituality means acceptance of what is, not to be confused with resignation or approval of evil. Jesus told us to love our enemies, not like them, and not have no enemies. In an abandoned, bombed-out house in Germany at the end of World War II, Allied soldiers found a testimony scratched into a basement wall by one of the victims of the Holocaust. I believe in the sun, even when it does not shine. I believe in love, even when it is not shown. I believe in God, even when He does not speak. Spirituality means the ability to find peace and happiness in an imperfect world, and to feel that one's own personality is imperfect but acceptable. From this peaceful state of mind come both creativity and the ability to love unselfishly, which go hand in hand. Acceptance, faith, forgiveness, peace, and love are the traits that define spirituality for me. These characteristics always appear in those who achieve unexpected healing of serious illness. I encourage patients to have faith in God, but not to expect Him to do all the work. I know that many patients, when they develop an illness or have a recurrence, are angry at God. It's important to be able to argue with God. Continued helpless rage at the universe can't possibly lead to health. God is not sitting up there with a clipboard saying, "Let's see who I can make trouble for today." On the contrary, God is a resource. The energy of hope and faith is always available. We all must die someday, but the spiritual way is always open to everyone and can make our lives beautiful whenever we choose it.